All right.
Okay.
So we're going to have better luck with shocking the camera today.
Yesterday we had trouble with this, so we're
Okay.
hoping for better results today.
I think so.
We'll see how it goes here. All right, so this is going to be your prompt, I should say, to evaluate whether new imperialism of the late 1800s and early 1900s was caused primarily by political motivations or economic motivations. So when you're getting a task word like evaluate, that means they want you to look at the evidence and take a position. Take a position. And we're using this word, what is your primary? So they're using this word primarily. So what will be your primary position? And the two variables they give you are, is this motivated by or caused by political motivations or by economic motivations? And so there will be 7 documents, obviously, and that one of those documents will be an image. And so you need to quickly read through the documents. And as you're reading through the documents, let's just take a quick look here. So as we're reading through our documents, and there's our prompt again, one of the suggestions I have for you is to make a T-chart, okay? So we'll do that over here because we're doing either political motivations or economic motivations. And so make a T-chart over on the side of the documents, and one side will be political, and one side will be economic. And then you are going to read through your documents. And we always read the source line first. So this is Prince Leopold, heir to the Belgian throne, a letter to one of his advisors. And so as we're reading this, or as you're reading it, you're thinking, is this a political motivation or an economic motivation? And you want to do that through each of them. And then as you decide, and I'm just going to put this down as an example, you're going to say, oh, maybe Doc 2, I think, is a political motivation. I'd put it on that side of the T-chart. And again, as an example, oh, I think Doc 4, for example, is an economic motivation. And you kind of populate your T-chart. It helps you organize and carefully read the documents, but then it helps you think, okay, which of these arguments am I going to make? Because now I've got a T-chart and I've got it figured out which of the documents I can put down to support the claim I'm going to make. As we do our structure, so what will that essay look like? And we want to begin broadly and then funnel down to the argument. And so this will be our contextualization paragraph. And one of the things that I suggested to you, or Katie and I have talked to you about, is if you're not sure how to get into this prompt, you know, you want to talk about new imperialism, the late 1800s and early 1900s. So what brings us into that? The acronym we've done on a couple of videos is GeoSprite. Because if I'm not exactly sure where I want to start, I can begin with the geography, right? So I can begin by talking about a country that was part of new imperialism, or I could begin with a country where new imperialism occurred, or a continent, either one. And then I can just start building sentences, and I don't have to use all of these pieces, but I have you can use these to help create sentences. So geography sentence, where and when, place geography. I could use the S for what's the social situation if I wanted to use that. What's the political situation right now? What's going on with religion? Does that fix into this? What about intellectual? Is there any new learning? What about technology? And what about economy? So we just use that to remind us of different ways that we construct sentences to help build the contextualization. Then we want to end this first paragraph with our thesis, also called a claim, also called an argument. You can use any of those words, but it needs to be in this first paragraph. So we have several sentences of contextualization that lead us into this thesis or claim. And when we make the thesis or claim, you want to use the stem of the prompt to help you construct your response to the prompt. And so the claim could be something such as, we're going to use this: the new imperialism of the late 1800s and early 1900s was caused primarily by, and this is where you make your choice, your argument. Are you going to say political motivations or economic motivations? And then you're going to use a comma and you're going to say because, and you're going to give two reasons. Reason number one and reason number two. Because that will help you set up your next two body paragraphs, right? And it will help you determine, okay, after I've read the documents, I have a pretty good idea. One of the reasons is this, and one of the reasons is this. And then you're going to be able to use the documents to support that reasoning. So we've taken a position, right, with our choice and our argument, and we've established our line of reasoning, okay? The other thing you could do here is, as we're thinking about complexity, is to make an acknowledgement that these are the primary reasons in the position you're taking, but you could also set up a complexity paragraph. That is a W. However, there were, we'll call this the alt argument, reasons as well. So this could also be in there. So let's just say if you're choosing as a guess, politics here, you could put economic motivations here. However, there were economic reasons as well. Does that make sense? And so that's how you construct that. And this is really important because now it's kind of set up the structure for the rest of your essay, right? So we've got our body paragraphs. This is going to be reason number one that you've identified in this thesis. This is going to be reason number two that you've identified in your thesis. And then with these reasons, you're going to want to use, obviously, the documents to support your reasoning. And because, as Katie put it out on the rubric, we need to use 6 documents to get to all of the document usage and get that point. So use, 2 to 3 documents here, 2 to 3 documents here as evidence to support the reason that you're identifying. When you're doing this, we had one video where we spent a lot of time talking about sourcing. And so we said you need to make the source happy, right? H is historical situation. A is audience. P is purpose. And the other P is point of view. And the Y is why is this significant or important? Significant. Okay. You do not have to use all 4 to get the sourcing point. So if you're doing 2 or 3 documents here, maybe one of those documents, you're going to do the sourcing analysis. You're going to make that source happy. And maybe one of them you're doing historical situation. Maybe one of them you're doing for audience. Maybe in this paragraph, you're doing another one that's audience. And maybe in this paragraph, you're doing one that's point of view. There isn't any, it's whatever is best comes to you and what you best think fits the sourcing of that particular document that they're giving you, okay? So make the source happy. And we want to do that times 3.
And Todd, if you don't mind me just reminding, because I've had students that get confused about this, the Y does not stand alone. The Y belongs with all of the other letters. So if you do the historical situation, you include the Y. If you do the audience,
Yes.
you include the Y. So just to remind
Yep.
you of that.
Absolutely. And you can think about the T structure, topic, sentence, evidence, telling here's what the evidence is, and then the analysis. This historical situation is significant because, right? That gets you into it. And so I appreciate you pointing that out, Katie. All right. We got to continue. And then when you're getting to this point, because a lot of you are asking, you know, how do I make sure I'm watching my time and all that? When we get to this point, you have to make a decision. You can end your essay by restating the thesis. And do you want to talk to that, Katie?
Yeah, sure. That Todd and I absolutely see students when we're at the AP reading who we know you haven't seen the documents before, you don't know the prompt, and you begin writing your essay. And so by the time you get to the end, you're actually doing a much better job articulating that thesis in the conclusion. So never copy it verbatim from the intro. I know some of you've probably been guilty of that in your essays at school. Try to do it a little bit better, because if you fell short in the introduction, we will give you credit for the thesis in the conclusion. So when you're restating it, you definitely want to try to do it a little bit better, make sure it has a line of reasoning in it. And then as you are, if you are going past that, really try to do some context going forward. And you can see that's what Todd's doing right there. Try to connect it.
Yeah, and there, you know, part of that is, okay, maybe my context wasn't good enough in the opening paragraph, and so I have another chance to earn that point here. But also, this is what good writers do. Good writers don't just abruptly end their essay. And so, yes, we're conscious of time, but we're also developing skills that you're going to have for a lifetime. So what about some context going forward? Connect to the next historical development. Okay, so this is about imperialism, and Katie just talked to you about how imperialism was a cause of World War I. There's a chance for you to bring that in there and connect that way. I said at this point you had a decision to make, and if you still have time, then you can earn this complexity and write your complexity paragraph. Okay, and we'll call that the alt argument. So this is our one path to complexity. It's not the only way, but I think students like having a plan, and this plan seems to, for a lot of students, it seems to sit really well. It's something they can see. So with our alt argument, that's when we're making this acknowledgement of this reason up here, right? And we're going to use one or two documents again to support that argument. And again, if you haven't already used 3 of the sourcing, you can do that here as well if you need to satisfy that. Now, there's only one more point available to us that we have not yet looked at, and that can occur kind of anywhere within the body of the paragraph. And that is, where will our outside evidence go? Okay, so either here, I'll just put outside evidence, evidence beyond the documents. Where will you insert that? So it can be here or down here, but you needs to be significant to earn that point for outside evidence. So there's a structure for you that gets you at all the different parts of the essay. And you have that T-chart as well to help you organize it. And so I hope you find this structure helpful. And the best way to know whether it's going to be helpful or not is to practice.
Yep, absolutely. Give it a practice.
We'll go back to the PowerPoint. We'll get you going here. So there's your homework. The document-based question is, the topic is imperialism.